Welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making today is a delicious batch of pumpernickel bread. This recipe that I'm making today is a viewer's request. Of course, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we never made pumpernickel bread when we were younger, my parents or their grandparents. But over the years that I've been making it myself, I want to show you my spin on how to make it. And if you're interested in this, let's get started. I'll tell you the ingredients. What I'm going to be using today is 4 1/3 cup of multigrain flour. Of course, the multigrain flour has got all wheat in it. It's got cracked wheat, it's got cracked rye, it's got old flax, and as well more. And we're going to also be using here today is 1 1/2 tablespoonful of brown sugar, 3 tablespoonful of unsalted butter. We're going to be using 1 tablespoonful of sea salt, 2 cups of milk, and I'm going to say milk of choice, and if you can't use milk, of course you can use the water. Also, we're going to be using here today 1/4 cup of molasses. You could use the regular molasses or the less sugar. It's totally up to you. We're going to also be using 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1/4 cup of white flour. This is going to blend all of it together. We're going to be using 1/2 cup of cornmeal and 1 tablespoonful of fast rising yeast. So let's get started. You're going to need warm milk, so you could nook it in the microwave for probably 30 to 40 seconds. Touch it to see if it's warm. That's all you need to do, is just a little bit more than room temperature, just so that we could start rising our yeast. 3/4 cup of milk put into a jar, and then put in your brown sugar. Stir that around till it's condensed, and then you're going to toss in your yeast and mix that around and set it to the side and let it start to rise. And then what we'll do now, we'll get working on our dry ingredients. Just going to put this milk aside and I'll tell you what to do with that after. So now this is the fun part. We're going to start pouring in our ingredients. So I told you the amount at the beginning, and that way you can go from there. What we're going to do now is mix all of our dry ingredients together. I'll talk a little bit about this recipe as I go. Just want to let you know, thank each and every one of you that sent in video requests, and I'm trying to get to each and every one of them. Of course, pumpernickel bread is one of my favorites because I like to have it with a dip, and of course a spinach dip is delicious. Like I said, I'm going to pour in all of our ingredients. That's our dry ingredients, except the 1/4 cup of white flour. I'm going to leave it to the side because we're going to use that for blending it all together when it starts to get at the wet stage of making this delicious pumpernickel bread. So that's all you need to do there. So now we're going to get back to the remainder of our wet ingredients, which is rest of the milk, as we used 3/4 cup of milk with our yeast, and that's over to the side rising. And now we're going to be putting our molasses and milk in together. Now, I know that you can put oil in a container to release this easier, but I'm going to use a spatula because I don't want oil in it, because the oil that we're using today is butter, and it's really at the very last stage of mixing to blend it all together, and I'll explain that to you as we go. So I'm just going to scoop it out, that's fine, and stir that together. This molasses is room temperature and the milk is nooked a little bit for about, like I said, 30 to 40 seconds on a high microwaved heat. Now we're going to put that to the side. So I hope you're following along and you're still interested in knowing how to make this delicious batch of pumpernickel bread. And again, thank you to the viewers that requested this one today. I'm waiting for my yeast to rise. Our wet ingredients is put together, our dry ingredients is put together, and our butter is slightly melted here at the front. And this is our white flour for blending it together. So now, when our yeast is done, we'll start mixing all of that in through. So what I'm going to do now is pour the yeast and that mixture in with our molasses and milk. And we're going to toss that right on into the center of this bowl. Now, some people could make bread by putting it on the table and making a hole and mixing it all together. But if you're a new time bread maker, you don't want to be doing that because that can get messy. Right now, I'm going to show you how to do it in the bowl. If you want to use a KitchenAid with a hook, you can do that. But right now, just get yourself a wooden spoon, mix it around gradually like this till you bring all the flour in. It might get a little difficult as you bring in more flour, but keep going like that, mixing for about 3 minutes or so. A little bit longer if you can, until it's all blended together.
Good exercise, isn't it?
Wonderful exercise. For your arm anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you got it just about all mixed in together, like this, now what we're going to do is toss in our butter. Now the butter is going to give it an oily texture. Let's get it all. We're going to mix that into it now to get it all blend in together. Not to have the butter warm, just melt it, so pretty much at room temperature. And keep mixing it with your wooden spoon. If you got a KitchenAid, you're going to have it easier. But remember, on previous videos that I've got there for you to watch, I love making bread, and bread of all types. Okay, I'm transferred now to a spatula because I want to get everything off the sides. So you're making sure you take everything in like this and mixing it around, because the mixing part is just as important as the kneading part and of course the baking part. So what we're going to do now, sprinkle a little bit of the white flour. Now we're going to work this into a ball. If you need to use a little bit more flour, let it be multigrain or wheat. At this stage, this is where you would use it. I'm going to let you use your discretion, because depending on what type of milk you're using, could be 1%, 2% or whole, it may be a little more wetter. And that's fine, because that's what your flour is for. We're blending it all together. So just mix it all in like this, kneading it with your spoon or your spatula. So after you've removed everything from the sides, as much as you can anyway, and the same thing around, now you're going to use your hand, and make sure your hands are clean before you even start. And you're going to start now kneading it inward like this, sprinkling with a little bit of flour and bringing it all in together, just until it all turns into a ball. This dough smells absolutely amazing because the cocoa and the molasses, I love it. So again, just kneading it, pushing it in. If it's a little sticky like this, add more flour, or you can just sprinkle it with a little bit after, because that is quite okay, working it like this. So what I'm going to do is flip it over like this, and we'll knead it a little bit more on that end. Okay, so after you've kneaded it all together like this, folding it inwards, now you're going to flip it over like this, making a nice ball, sprinkle it with the remainder of your flour. Keep it around just like this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover this with a piece of parchment paper on the top, my lid. If you don't have the parchment paper and you only got the lid, that's fine. Okay, I just wanted to wash my hands just to get that dough off there, because you know it'll be stuck to my towel. So again, put your parchment paper on the inside. If you only got parchment paper and not a lid, that's fine. And then cover it then with a towel, making sure it's wrapped nice and under and around. I'm going to put it over onto my stove top, and I'm going to turn on the light in the hood. I'm going to keep it there for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, just until it rises a little bit more, probably half the ways more. And then after that, I'll knead it again. I'm going to put it back there, the same thing, because like I've said in previous videos, I always like to let it rise twice, because that'll make it twice as good. So meet me back here when that's done, and I'll show you that step. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen, and now what we'll do is show you the stage after it's risen once, and then we'll knead it down, and we'll do that all over again. Okay, so this is what it looks like after the first stage. Now what I'm going to do is just do a little sprinkle. So the quarter of a cup of flour that we used at the beginning, you could use a little bit more just to bring it all in through. So as you can see, just texture of this dough is amazing. Just knead it down. It feels really nice and it smells nice. I love the smell of coconut and molasses anyway. So that's all you need to do there. I'm just going to toss it over. I'm going to get another little bit of flour to put over the top. And then I'm going to put the sign across, because I always do. And I'm going to wrap it one more time. So then put your towel over the top of your bowl to get it ready to put in a warm place. But before I do, I'm going to tell you a tip that our viewers had given us about what they do when they make their bread and get it ready to rise. They put it in their oven and turn the light on, and then put the bread or the dough in there with everything covered over it, and leave it there for the 30 minutes or so, 45, and then it keeps it nice and warm. But remember, it's the light, not the heat, because you don't want to catch a fire to anything. And as well, I meant to say cocoa and molasses, not coconut and molasses. So meet me back here now in a few, and I'll show you the step when we put it into the pans. Okay, we're at the stage now where we're going to get ready to put it into our pans. This is only for 2 buns of bread, or 2 pans of bread, and I'm going to be using my old-fashioned pan that I use for all of the breads, and I'm going to make a round one, because what I want to do, I want to show you how nice it is to have both types of bread, shapes, and I wanted to use the round one for a dip. And I'm going to be making a spinach dip here at the last of this when it all comes out. So right now, I'm just going to take our towel off and our cover, put this to the side, and we'll get putting it in our pans. So first you want to make sure that you got a nice bit of butter put there in each pan. Now this is an old pan, and of course sometimes I don't even need to butter it. Put a little bit on your hands as well. Make sure your hands is clean before you start doing this step, and just take up a piece of your dough. Just look at the texture on the inside and all those air pockets. And you know, I always say, when you got air pockets in your dough, it's gonna be amazing. Shape it into a little ball like this, put it into your pan. We'll do another one, show you what that looks like. Just cut a little bit off, shape it into a ball, folding it under, giving it a little twist, and putting it into your pan. It's as good as that. So you don't have to be particular if they're all the same size, because you know I've said it in previous videos as well. It's not about how it's looking, it's about that you've got it into your pans, and that's character anyway.
So you're more or less all about the taste.
It's all about the taste, it's not about the look. So if anyone don't like the look of your bread, well, don't give it to them. So now pretty much what I'm doing here now, because I want to make a round one for this pan. You just tuck the rest of that one. Now this is enough to make another pan like this if you wanted 3 buns, or if you wanted to make it this way to put in a pan and then to have it as a dip inside, and your family and friends would love it. So now that's all we need to do there. I'll show you what's next. So what I'm going to do next, in this one over here, I'm just going to make little cuts like this, fancy little cuts. Look, and just across the side like this. I want this to open up like that. You can do one down the middle if you want to. Not going to do anything with that. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so what you're going to do next, you're going to cover it again with a piece of parchment paper. This is to keep the bread from sticking to your towel. And you're going to take your towel and put over the top. Now you can do the same thing again, like that tip that our viewer gave us. Put it in the oven with the light on, or over the hood of the stove, on the stove and over the hood. And then keep it there for another 30 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes. If you forget about it for a few minutes because you're doing something else, don't you worry about it. Then when that's risen again, come back. I'm going to show you the step when we put it in the oven and bake it, and then after we will make the delicious spinach dip, so we'll have it ready for when our bread comes out. So now here comes my favorite part, putting it into the oven and getting ready to have it all baked and ready to go. So what we need to do, of course I'll show you the bread or the dough. What we'll need to do is put the oven on, a preheated oven of 350 degrees for at least 35 minutes to 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven. It will be a nice golden brown and all baked and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is put mine in the oven, and then I'm going to get starting on making that delicious spinach dip I was telling you about. Okay, while we're waiting for our bread to bake, I might as well show you how to make this delicious spinach dip. Now as well, we do have bread already ready from yesterday that I baked, and I'm going to show you what that looks like, as well as the fresh bread. So what we're going to be using is about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup, it all depends what you want, of cooked frozen spinach. So you just take that, toss it on into your bowl, and then we're going to add in some more delicious ingredients on top of that. Then toss in about 1/2 cup of celery, and chopped celery into little pieces. Now everybody makes their spinach dip a little different. I'm going to show you the way I make it. That was about a teaspoonful of pepper and about a tablespoonful of onion soup mix, and that got a blend of your chunked onions and all of the seasonings in that as well. I'm going to be putting in about 1/2 cup of sour cream. Just scrape it on in there. We're going to be using a cup of mayonnaise or Miracle Whip, whatever you got available. And if you don't want to use sour cream, you could use Greek yogurt. Just have it that it's the plain and not, of course, not any flavors. And some green onion or some whatever green flavor you want, that's not a problem. Scallions, it doesn't matter. We're just going to mix this together like this. Chives is nice in this as well if you wanted to chop up some chives to replace the green onion. But that's all you need to do there. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge and wait for our bread to bake. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen, and our pumpernickel bread is baked. I'm going to take it out of the oven. You can see I got some already baked, of course, from yesterday. Now let's just grab for this. It smells amazing in there. Just look at this one. Absolutely delicious. So now what I'm going to do is just pop these out of the pans and show you what they look like. So that's the round one. Absolutely amazing. And now I'm going to just pop this one out and just look how lovely they look. Nice and golden brown, and that's just what we want. So what I'm going to do first, before I cut into that one, I want to glaze a little bit of butter over the top, as per usual with all of my breads. You'd see I like to do this, and this kind of gives it a nice soft top as well, because right now it is a little crunchy. Put the parchment paper over the top, and then we're going to put the towel over that. So what I'll do while we're waiting for this to rest, we're going to cut into the other one. Okay, so I just reached for my spinach dip as well, and I put about a teaspoonful to a tablespoonful of olive oil on there as well, and mix that around in that dip. Now what we're going to do is cut the top off of this round one. I'm going to scoop out the inside. We're going to put the dip in there. That's going to be amazing. So you just take yourself a serrated knife. They got nice edging. Cut off the top and just look at the inside of this bread. Absolutely delicious. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to put this piece to the side. I'm just going to cut a little hole into the middle of my bread. Okay, so you just want to make sure you cut all the ways through, just to take off one piece. Now it looks like that I'm just torturing this bowl there, making my bread terrible, but I'm not, because we're going to take this dip now and we're going to pour it right on into the middle of this delicious bread. And what you would do then is take the bread itself and cut into little pieces and just put there off to the side around it, because this is now, you're going to have a feast with this for your family. Maybe your friends is over and you're having a couple of glasses of wine. You put a spoon in there, and then to jazz it up, you can just put this top to the side, because everything is edible. You can just cut it up and eat it. So what I'm going to do now is reach for one of our fresh loaves and cut that and put some butter and jam on it. So now I'm going to remove the parchment paper and the towel, because we don't need that anymore. Now it's been resting a little bit. We had some time to cut the other bread, show you that, and show you how you can turn this delicious pumpernickel bread into a party favor with the spinach dip. Now I'm going to cut this one. I usually like to let it rest a little bit more. Your mom might have told you, you know what, don't cut the bread until it's cool. But we're going to show you what it looks like here today. I'm going to cut off the outer piece and put some butter and jam on it. So this is our fresh loaf. I'm going to cut, and again, if you got a serrated knife with the edges on, this is it. Just look at the steam coming out, and it smells amazing. I'm going to take a little bit of butter, because butter makes everything taste better no matter what you got.
Especially on a slice of warm bread.
Exactly. So you can see Raymond is waiting for these.
Big time.
I'm going to be putting some of this wild plum jelly on there, and that one is on Bonita's kitchen as well. We went to Pools Cove and we picked this and we made this jelly, and just look at it. Now how wonderful is that? Can you see making this and having it for yourself? Delicious.
Can't get any better.
Too good to eat.
There we go.
So I hope the viewers that asked me to make this pumpernickel bread today is pleased with my spin on it, of course. This is not a traditional Newfoundland nor Labrador recipe, because we didn't cook or bake this kind of bread years ago. But now, of course, in our family, I like to do special breads. I like to do different breads, and of course, most certainly, any type of bread. And again, look at this. How good is that? So you gotta make it. So of course I got to make myself a cup of tea for myself and Raymond, so we can enjoy a piece of this warm bread while it's nice and hot. Of course I'll have another little taste in a bit. But if you like this recipe and you want to see more of our traditional, non-traditional viewers' requests or choices of mine, go to www.bonitaskitchen.com. You can visit us on YouTube or send us a message on Facebook. We would love to hear from you. Now I do have to have a little taste, so. So delicious. My mouth is full, and I know that's rude. The taste is unreal. And to me, just simple ingredients you got in your house already. And with that jam, so delicious.
Can I have a taste?
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
So again, if you enjoyed this recipe today and you'd like to see more of our recipes, we always put the recipe at the bottom of the video for you to check out and like and share any of our recipes. And if you got a video request, certainly you can send that to us as well. So from our kitchen to yours, thank you for joining us here once again today for Bonita's Kitchen. From our kitchen to yours. Have a wonderful day. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen, and now our Hi, I'm Bonita from Bonita's Kitchen. If you're visiting Newfoundland and Labrador, don't forget to check out Brigus and the surrounding communities and towns.
Join us by the sea, a journey